Hey there, Jake here from CVP. Today we are finally taking a look at the Sigma AIZU cinema primes. These piqued our interest when they were announced with their combination of a large image circle, consistent t1.3 maximum aperture, and promised blend of Sigma sharpness and organic image rendering. But do they deliver? Well, let's take a look. A few months back we managed to take a few focal lengths of the AIZUs on a shoot and capture some behind the scenes and A-roll imagery on Blackmagic's Ursa Cine 12K and 17K. And we've also had 7 of the currently available 8 focal lengths in for testing for a couple of weeks now that we've used across a few different shoots. Shooting wide open with larger format cameras can result in some crazy shallow depth of field imagery, and even wide open they still pop and are sharp. But they also have a nice fall off towards the corners and to their out of focus portions. They are certainly very different to Sigma's previous cinema lenses. They've got a real nice balance of character and clean resolving power. I was actually surprised how much they can cover the 17K, and in some instances it's definitely usable, but we'll take a look at coverage later on in the video. Let us know what you think of the images we've managed to capture down below. The original Sigma Cine primes were highly praised when they were announced all the way back in 2016, but the cinema lens market has changed a lot since then. The AIZUs are a clear focus shift from Sigma when it comes to cinema glass. They are priced and aimed more at the upper mid-range where there aren't too many other options to choose from, and Sigma are clearly holding them in high regard, as the lenses are actually named after the location of their manufacturing facility in AIZU in the Fukushima prefecture. They are also a unique set of optical and mechanical designs, unlike the Sigma Cines, which used Sigma's art series of stills lenses optics and rehoused them in cinema lens housings. I loved Sigma's original Cine lenses when they were released, as at the time there wasn't much else like it on the market. However, using their stills glass meant that the Cines were incredibly inconsistent and had traits that filmmakers don't normally want to see in cinema lenses. The AIZU set consists of 8 release focal lengths currently, 7 of which we have with us today, but there will be 12 in total, with an 18, 21, 100 and 125mm all coming soon, all of which have a t1.3 maximum aperture. 18 and 135mm t1.3 both sound pretty awesome. Obviously, t1.3 across a whole full frame set like this is pretty impressive. Looking at our regular bokeh headshot examples, we can see that the AIZUs are incredibly consistent throughout the different focal lengths that we have in for testing. Looking at the out of focus highlights throughout the set, we can see several key characteristics. Wide open, the lenses have cat's eye shape throughout. Some look decently round in the centre, but others are even misshapen here slightly. Stopping down does help form a more consistent shape, and throughout the lenses we can see similar shape from the 13 blade iris that they all share. The highlights have a slightly defined edge to them and a clean of both texture and colour fringing. I really like the way the out of focus elements of these lenses look. Wide open, they are special. The out of focus areas roll in and out really nicely. Pair these lenses with a nice large sensor camera and you will capture some lovely imagery. Looking across the set, close focuses are pretty good at each focal length. They will certainly be enough for most scenarios, and if you need to use them closer, using a diopter on them will be easy to do. Here are some examples of each lens at their closest focus point. They all perform well here, with no real fall off in performance. They still look very detailed and roll off nicely. The original Sigma Cines were both loved and hated for their sharpness, and Sigma have tweaked the AIZUs to offer a better balance that is more tuned for modern lens tastes. This means that they do resolve well in the centre of frame, but have a fall off towards the corners of frame, partly because of their fill curvature. This fall off though is something that a lot of cinematographers are looking for with cinema lenses nowadays. Stopping down does improve corner to corner sharpness, and at around T4 to 5.6 they clean up really nicely and resolve well corner to corner. In our chart tests, which are a bit of a stress test, they have a touch of CA wide open on and off axis. Most of the lenses will clean up though if you stop down to T2. Looking at more real world imagery, I think they have a nice balance of sharpness without being super harsh. They are also really consistent throughout the set, with them all behaving very similarly from our chart testing. A lens's flare characteristic is a very subjective thing, and honestly one of the big identifying differences between different optics, especially nowadays. For these examples we grabbed a couple of different flare source types. So we have the classic torch down the barrel of the lens, which is a slightly colder source, and an aperture LS60X set to 3200 Kelvin with the camera set to 5500 Kelvin for both tests. The flare on these is very consistent throughout the set, apart from the 65mm, which seems to flare much easier and more extremely. They all look very similar though, with lots of green, rainbowing, and interesting shapes, especially in the corners of the wider focal lengths. I think they certainly flare much easier and better than the previous Sigma Cine lenses, which are normally much more controlled, but aren't anywhere near as wacky as the Sigma Classics, which were far too uncontrollable for a lot of cinematographers. If you want to see the full test uncut, please make sure to go follow us on Vimeo, where we will be uploading the full tests as soon as possible. If you want to keep up with the latest and greatest kit, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you want to buy anything you see in this video, or you want to get your hands on the Sigma AIZU or any other kit for that matter, head over to cvp.com, where our experienced team is waiting to help you. The AIZU lenses have a rated image circle of 46.3mm, which will cover loads of full frame sensors. However, some of the focal lengths will even cover beyond that. For our coverage test, we shot them using our regular lens coverage tool setup, which means that we are capturing a massive sensor size, but I have overlaid graphics for some popular camera formats. These coverage images are purely illumination, so you do need to consider that performance may fall off past the rated image circle of any lens. When it comes to covering full frame and VistaVision sensors, you'll have more than enough illumination with no hard cuts throughout the focal range. If you're planning on using the AIZU on sensors larger than full frame, your mileage can vary. The 25mm surprisingly covers the Eterna and 17K the best out of the bunch, which I wasn't expecting. And with the rest of the set, we can see more illumination fall off and even some hard vignetting. So yeah, if you want to try and use these on larger sensors like the ISO17K, Alexa 265 or Fujifilm Eterna, I suggest booking a demo with us where you can come in and test them for yourself and see if you're happy with their performance. The images are available to view now on our fantastic lens tool, so if you want to check the coverage of these and loads of other lenses across the industry standard cameras, check out our lens coverage and camera comparison tool, link to which is in the description below. Looking at focus breathing, we can see a little bit on each of the lenses, but it isn't a lot. Racking through the entire focus range during our chart test will look worse than just a regular pull, but it's a consistent way of us seeing the performance across the set. Looking at real-world focus pulls, we can see the breathing is much less obvious. The longer focal lengths do look to have the most out of the bunch. When it comes to distortion, the 25, 27, 32, 35 and 40 all have pretty similar amounts of slight barrel distortion. On the 50mm, we can see that it is well corrected, but has ever so slight pincushion, and this is also the case with the 65mm. Overall though, performance is very good. Distortion is pretty subtle here and easily correctable in post if you do desire none at all. Up next for our colour shift test, we shot a grey card and then punched in Resolve to just have a grey image and then normalised their white balance in the raw control panel, noting down the different readings. There is a small colour shift throughout the different focal lengths, but it's not massive by any stretch. They are far more consistent than the original Sigma Cines. The AIZU primes are a nice size and weight for cinema workflows. They aren't massive but do have a nice feel and weight to them. You will be able to easily get them onto larger gimbals and use them handheld with the right support equipment. But given their image circle and maximum aperture, I think they're a good size. They have standard gears for focus and iris control with a 270-degree throw on the focus. They are available in both PL and E mount, but I think for most people at this price point, PL is going to be the way to go. These lenses don't have any deep rear elements past the PL mount like some other modern lenses have now, which means that you'll be able to use these with rear drop-in filter adapters, which is great. When it comes to data, the lenses have support for both Cook eye data through the contacts on the PL mount here, and they also have extended data support via the port on the top of the lens here. These will be really helpful for a bunch of different workflows. We found iData really useful when tracking what lens we had used for what shot. Being able to see this metadata in Resolve is super helpful. Oh yeah, the marks are also glow in the dark as standard, which is pretty helpful, and when we projected and collimated them, they were very accurate straight out the box. The Sigma AIZU are £6,999 including taxes. In today's market, I would consider these high-end now, and in a pretty unique position with really only the Tokina Vista Primes and Lights Hector in roughly the same price bracket. I think this pricing means that for most owner-operators, they are going to be too expensive. But for rentals and some owner-ops who love the image, and want to invest into them and park them at a rental, they could be worth exploring. The image they produce is really lovely, and having a full set of lenses with this size image circle, vast aperture, and combination of resolution and character does make them unique. Sigma have done a really nice job at balancing the sharpness they are known for, but with a bit more character and qualities that will make them more appealing to cinematographers. I really like the images we've captured with these, and physically they are well put together and reassuring on camera without being too big. Lenses are always an incredibly personal choice, so if you're seriously considering buying these or any other lenses, I would suggest dropping demo@cvp.com an email to book a demo today where you can come into our offices and get your hands on the lenses yourself in one of our beautiful showrooms. Anyway, if you have any more questions or thoughts about the Sigma AIZUs, let us know in the comments. And if you like the video, please give it a like and maybe consider subscribing so you don't miss out on our awesome upcoming content. And thank you so much for watching.